Good morning. Welcome to the Dutchman's workshop. Um, Sorry about that. For some reason, it's goofing up. Anyway, top of the morning to you. Get some good coffee here from, of course, the Coffee Shack in Captain Cook, Hawaii. I love that place. Got to get there early though. Boy. Okay, so here's what I did. So I did the resin bit, and it's actually come out a couple times where I love doing this. Okay, so this is the this is the mold I'm using. It's that rubber stuff. It's really good. All right. So this was the first one. It was the first experiment I tried. Now the only bad part about this is this a little bit of a ridge. When it was in here, I didn't put enough in here, but it's okay because I can take and cut this off with a knife just real gently. I'll be okay. So that's number one. Number two was this one right here. Now, what I did is I have these packets of this gold stuff, right? So I took the turquoise that I used and I mixed the turquoise in here. What happens is when I put it in here like this, all right, I was trying to fill this and this and this up. And what it ended up doing was this stuff is heavier than the liquid here, so it kind of flowed down into it. And that's when you got a little bit of this, which I think this is probably the coolest looking one yet. Okay, so that was number two. Okay, so number three, you see blue, right? A little bit of white there. I don't know what that's from, but anyway, I tried the same thing, and this is what I got. So I tried it a little bit differently. When I filled the blue resin in there, I only filled it up to here. I was trying to get below the head. And what happened was, and I put the gold in here on both the fins and all four fins and the head. Well, what happened was when I poured the rest of the resin in there, the color of the blue, that's how it turned out. So it kind of bled. See, the problem is this stuff here it seems to be heavier, and it went down. Now, in a perfect world, it's just a resin science. It's not a biggie. I have fun doing this. I hope people like what I'm doing. I put it on. I could put magnets on this, and you could put it on the door. You could do all kinds. You could put this as decorations on your Chicario boards or whatever, your kitchen stuff. Or you can. I don't know if these float yet. I haven't tried that, so that'll be interesting. So now there's a couple of different things I have to explain to you. It's complicated, but it's not complicated. What I mean by that is there's a few things you got to do. Now, I made this a while ago, 2-3 years ago, I think. And I've got to polish it up. It's dirty. It's just been sitting. But the idea of the game was to get, and I had this issue. I did 4 other bowls before I did this one. I used a yellow dye in this, and I believe it might have been this. Might have been this. But here's the thing. I only use 1 drop of this stuff. So it's, you got to use it up right away because the stuff gets hard. Okay, so what I did was I put a piece of wood in the middle. Now there's a couple of things you got to be aware of with wood in the middle. One is the moisture content in the wood and the bowl that I use too. The idea is to get less than 5% moisture out of whatever you're putting in the material wise in this thing, because what happens is it tends to get white. Now with this, the biggest problem I had was, and I might not have cranked it up high enough, is that bubbles. Okay, so the reason I put it in a crock pot is because under pressure is to get the bubbles out. So the bubbles need to rise out of the bottom and raise up to the top. Not all the time does that work though. There's guys that use a sucking device and suck it out instead. And it kind of would pull the same idea, but it pulls in a lot more of the fluid into the voids of whatever you're using. Now, a lot of guys like to use a burl wood. Now, the big thing is burl wood. There's a guy out there named Jeff Hart who does this. Look him up. He's on YouTube too. Jeff Hart is really good. He does orbs. This guy is a genius with this. He does a lot of it. So, and he's helped me a little bit along the way, giving me advice and stuff. Okay, so one of the things that I have an issue with is moisture in the lines, moisture in the tank, moisture getting into the crock pot. Well, okay, so the number one issue you should do before you even start mixing any of this, bleed the tank. I've got a pan air compressor in where my sump pump is, so it's in a room by itself. But I've also got 100 feet of air hose. So the idea is to take that tank, or there's a valve under there. You open the valve up, you lean it on the side and let it bleed. And most of the time, there is some kind of residue in there, some kind of moisture. And I've got a ton of it here because I'm in a basement. So, and that's the other thing, that adds to your moisture content. If you're going to put kind of wood, just a piece of wood in there, if I was going to take this, these three glued together and put it in there, I'd have to make sure this wood is at least 5% or less moisture content, because even sitting in here will do it. And I've got a moisture meter. Is it accurate all the time? Well, within, but you could usually judge it yourself by how you feel. If the wood feels cold and kind of damp feeling, then you want to make sure that you have this dried out. Now, I've got a kiln back there. It's a 55-gallon drum with a heat lamp that you'd normally see like at a Costco or Sam's Club that keeps the chicken warm or the food warm. It's not a big deal. It works to a certain extent. I can't put big things in there. I make it big enough for what I use it for, especially if I'm turning. So that's the big deal. So what I usually do is I turn the tank up, and it's still on. I let it run. As the tank is bleeding and draining the moisture out, it's getting rid of a lot of the stuff you want to get rid of. Then I open the valve on the hose, and I've got this valve right here. So, okay, so the two things you want to do the most before you do anything. If I feel cold air coming out of there, see the paper, then I know that I have to drain it some more. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll clamp that down like that. And what'll happen is it'll keep that running at the same time this is running, and it bleeds. You're bleeding the hose. You see what I'm getting at? So you try to drain that as much as you can. I don't think you're ever going to get it all completely out. But it's not that big a deal. It just takes a little bit of time. And that gets a lot of the moisture out of the line, because there is a difference. If you got moisture in the line, any kind of content that could turn it white or flaky white or something, that'll do it. And what I do normally, and I have a device I put on there too. Where did I put it? See, the device is right here on a crock pot. Sits on the lid. So this is supposed to take care of the moisture. So does it work? It seems to work okay. I haven't really I haven't had too much of a problem since I've gone through and worked on my bleeding all the tanks and stuff. It seems to work out okay. So now this resin here I'm using is kind of a different resin. This is aluminite. It sets up in about 12 minutes or so. Working time, it's okay. Directions, mold preparation. Okay, it says pre-mold box or silicone to mold containing resin. Mold release required. And there's a spray on here I call a stoner. There's another one. You spray it on here before you put anything in it. That helps release, it gets these things out. It won't stick to it. Okay, then you mix according to what they say on here, A and B. One's hardener, the other one's the other liquid. And then when you pour it, okay, it says you put it under pressure at between 30 and 60 psi. In started cure times to produce void-free castings. Usually, working time is 12 minutes. It says, all right. Demold time 4 hours. Okay, that's 4 hours. So what time is it now? It's 11 o'clock, almost 10:30, 11 o'clock, right? I could probably do it now and take it up before 5 o'clock. Okay, here's the thing. Legitimately, I like to put them in between 10 and 12. So usually, like yesterday, I started it at this time yesterday, and I pulled it out at 9 o'clock last night. That's this one, the third one. If you're doing molds with wood in it, then you have to I always let it set 24 hours. Because if it cures, you got wood in there that, it's a soft compound. It may take a little bit more time to soak up the resin in the voids. The only thing I can tell you is if you do stuff with bark on it, for instance. Let's see. Let me get something with bark on it. Bark. Well, I'll just say this. Hang on a second here. Yeah, I got stuff in there I can use. Okay, for instance, if I was going to use this. Okay, so the biggest problem you're going to have. Now, this is where you got to check all angles. Then you sit, okay, how am I going to do this? Well, you're going to look at it, if you have a lot of voids in here, like open pockets like this one's got here, you've got several of them. What can happen is if you try to use this, you may not be able to get it all up in there. You might have an air pocket under these parts right here. So you got to make sure that you have wood. I don't know if I'm going to use this in something like that, but yeah, I thought it was a unique knot. It's like an elbow. I don't know. I might turn it this way. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Anyway, if you're just doing wood like this, and you want to put some design on it, same thing goes. You have to make sure that this is actually void of any kind of moisture. Same idea, but because it's a solid, you don't have a lot of places for stuff to go, right? So you don't have to worry about it too much. Anything with bark, this one, for instance, another one, was kind of an experiment. I was going to use this for something and I forgot what, Anyway, if this had void in it, you got to make sure that you have the pressure at the right point to force the air bubbles out and the liquid down into it. And it does make a difference. If I was to set this in a bowl, I'd prefer to go like this. It'll force this in here. Now the other thing is measuring, the content. Okay, so if you were going to put this wood into a bowl thing, you want to be able to make sure that you have the measure, the pressure, the amount right. So that's, you can do the math or you can use a weight thing on it. There's a lot of things, there's different ways to do it. Now, my experience is that I just experiment and see where it goes. A lot of guys like to go by the book, but I actually, with this, is kind of fun. Then you kind of work up to it. It's easy. It's a blast. Hey, David, how you doing? Or morning to you, or here, or afternoon to you there, or wherever you're at. I'm doing the Dutchmans wood shack today, so I'll be on with the trains later. I was just see my molds. It came out pretty good. I like these. And I might make, See, the thing is too, I might make these a little bit clearer. Now, when I did this, I mixed these, break them, so you can't really see through them, right? What I might make, the next one might be, it might be a clearer version. I've got all these dyes over here that I'm kind of chicken. And the only problem with these dyes, like for instance this, is it doesn't take much. Yeah, I basically would take a stick like this, and I've done this, and just dipped it in there, and then put it in, and I come out with, you know, a darker. You kind of have to fool with this a little bit. It's kind of weird. And this is where I say, if you do resin work, you have to be willing to experiment and take a chance. I like to do little stuff before I do the big stuff. So, for instance, ow, yeah, shoot. I want to, this one here is, I'm going to do Christmas trees in here. Now, anybody that's seen my Christmas, I've got one I didn't sell last year. People like the resin Christmas trees. What I used to do is do this. I would take one of these pine cones, and then I would put it on a wood piece, a nice wood piece, and go like this. And then you fill this up with the resin. And then what I did one time, God, I whacked my head on my own bench. Wow. And then what I ended up doing was I mixed the resin with this stuff, right? Well, this one, unfortunately, I have one that I did like this. It's curved. You see how it's curved? That's not going to work. So I think I'm just going to stain this and then just paint this or something and make it it'd be a Christmas tree like this. Put the glitter on it, you know, that kind of stuff. It's not like I'm lacking projects. So what I need to do is find a Christmas tree that's pine cone that's straight. So again, same thing. You take the stoner or this stuff that I use, and you spray this on there. And this is a releasant. And so what it does is basically, so when it comes out, you pull it out, you can go like this and get enough and it won't stick. Kind of like Pam. You know, in the kitchen they have Pam, right? Pam in the pan, that's to release it all, right? So, and I've got other stuff I want to do, but the big thing is, when you're doing this, if you get enough information, you could play around with it and see where it goes. If you end up having too much white around, you know, like this did a little bit, I don't know what that was, or maybe that I have to take my knife and clean it off. But anyway, the idea is to try and not get, if you're doing woodworking in there, try and not get a lot of white and bubbles in there. So that white tells you there's too much moisture in the wood content. So, okay, so now I said all this, right? So all I can tell you is if you do resin work, it's fun, but it's problematic. I've never done one piece twice where it came out the same way twice. That's a fact. So at the end of the day, as long as you like it, you're happy, that's all that matters. And am I going to sell these? I don't know. But people want to buy these things. I'm trying to do different things to them. Hit me up. I'll be glad to, help you out. Right now, I haven't sold any because I just started doing it. And I figure I could put magnets on this, can go on your refrigerator or wherever. And I don't know if they float. They could be bathtub things. They could be display items. Yeah, I'm a woodworker and I'm doing resin. It's kind of like the guys that do the 3D printing, It's woodworking, My friend Kilroy's Odessa woodworking, he's great. He made a space shuttle. Last one I saw was his space shuttle. And he made it out of his laser. They cut out all the wood and printed it all, cut it out. And it was complicated. Actually, when he was putting it, I think it took 3 hours to put, just in one episode, to put part of it together. And I got to thinking, well, I could do that on the lathe. I, I, I might make one on the lathe. So I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm too busy screwing around between the trains. That's the other thing. I'll show you guys the trains in a bit. So what I'm going to do today, I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do this or not. This thing is so dirty, I gotta clean it anyway. Okay, so this is a nice rubber mold. See, oh God, it's rubber. Oh yeah. The Dutchmans lost it. You know, I just thought of something. I could put that inside of that. I could do this. And then I could actually, I could put one of those in the mullet bottom, right? And then I could take and fill it up with resin and put like shells in there. And that would be kind of cool. That's not a bad idea. I'm thinking about that. That might work. Yeah, and here's the other thing. Something this size, this might float up to the top. So that's the one thing you got to worry about. So if I was to carve this, I'd have a shallow bowl. I don't know. That's an idea. But I got 3 more. I got a bigger one than that in here. So that's an idea I would use on this. The idea here, though, is to be experimental. Great. Thanks, David. I appreciate that. I wonder anyway, what I'm thinking about doing, well, I've done other resin bowls. If I could get to one, I could show you. I don't know where it's at, but I thought about doing something like this and doing a resin bowl on the outside, doing something, but I don't know. See, I'm still working on this. I have to finish this. It's been taking me a while to do it. I haven't felt like doing too much woodworking, so I haven't sold it. That's the other thing. All the stuff that I make is for sale. If you're interested, hit me up, leave me a message, and we can exchange emails and stuff and phone numbers and go from there. So this one here, well, I have to explain this first before I move on. All right, so this is a piece of walnut I got from Appalachian. I call it Appalachian Heritage walnut. This is from my friend Gerald's place. You look him up, Appalachian Heritage Wood Shop. He's on YouTube, Facebook, and stuff. He's a great guy. He's an excellent woodworker. You can learn from him. I learn from him all the time. I call him my mentor because I watch him. If I watch his episodes, he used to do a TV program, so he's really good. I've been to his shop. It's awesome. But I got this from his shop, actually. And I got another piece that's over here I haven't turned. But the one thing I did that was wrong, okay, so when you're turning wood, right, you want to go against the grain. And I did. The problem I had here was the end grains started coming through, and the stuff that I used on it didn't work right. I didn't like the way the finish was. So I took it back down, and I'm in the process of doing some repair work with it. But I'll tell you what, the only thing I'm having a hard time with is this the way the contour is. It's very difficult to get in here and without butchering the thing. I don't have a device. You have to go online, and it's like Amazon, look for gazillion devices to try and get this contour sanded, or I'm doing it by hand. And usually what I do is I connect this there's a device I have on my chuck, just barely fits, and I use this on the device, and I turn it on my chuck, and I'll sand this by hand. But it's tricky because it's skinny, and I'd already taken this part off. So you kind of have to make it. There's a jig I'll put on the top of this. Since I've already sanded this, it's this I got to get. And that gets kind of tricky. So, and this is where not having the right tools all the time kind of sucks. All right. And this one I did last year, and unfortunately, nobody bought it. So, and then there's another one I'm working on there. So, anyway, I'm trying to toy around with what I want to make the next one at, and I don't know if I want to put any more in there or not. I've never used this, so I'm thinking maybe I should use this and a little dye. Although I could make the clear resin. I can make the clear resin. I just have the clear resin and put dye in it and see what happens. Yeah, I might do that. If it comes out goofy, so what, right? Doesn't matter. Okay, hold that thought. I'll tell you what, I'd let people know more often when I'm going to be on, but I don't know how YouTube, how you set it up to let people know. So, and it's, I don't know, for some reason I don't get everybody else's stuff anymore either, so I don't know. I don't know. I gotta put this back on. Okay, come on. There we go. Sometimes you have to redo your seal because you don't want to sit down right. Yeah, it's kind of like you have an ear leak or something. There we go. A little bit better. Okay, because you want to get that, you want to make sure that you have that ready to go, all right? Okay, so first things first. Now, I might come back on and show you how I do this later because I have to bleed the tank. It'll take me a while to do that and then do some other things and prep it. I'll have it ready to go. So when I come back on, either I'll videotape it or I'll show you guys live, all right? I'm going to get off right now because I've got to do, it's going to take me a while to bleed the lines again. See, this is the thing. It's crucial that you do this. Every time you go to do a resin job, you want to make sure there's absolutely no moisture around because it'll screw with you. Trust me, I've been there. Thanks for watching the Dutchman's Wood Shack.